Hello and welcome. Today is our last event of 2017. It's been a really great year. We've had some amazing presentations, and we are actually very excited to have an event today, or the finale of the year, which will feature these projects, the projects of students that are terminating their year, well, their whole term of work. And what you're going to see are some interesting, exciting, innovative, creative work and a lot of hours. We appreciate you guys being here and sharing this with us. So why don't I then introduce Mark Schignall.
Just here to introduce the students. There are two projects we're going to show you from MIE 344. It's a course on ergonomic design of information systems, but basically it's HCI. And the two groups who agreed to come out tonight, I think, did a good job. So basically the first two projects you'll see will be from mechanical industrial engineering, and then the next 5 projects will be multimedia design projects through, I guess, the faculty information. Okay, so different cultures. These are undergrads, and then you'll see grads. So, but these guys are brave, and I'm really pleased they turned out. So we're going to start off, I think, with Stefan and Sharon and Megan, talking about Pharmassistant. I'm sorry, I remember another name, project name. Yeah. And then we'll have Lauren, representing her group, talking about Voluntree. Okay, thank you.
So hello everyone. Like Professor Schignall said, we're undergrad students in the industrial engineering faculty. We're in 3rd year, and this is the project we worked on throughout the semester. We built an app called Pharmassistant. What it basically does is it's designed to streamline the process of filling, refilling, and taking prescription drugs. It's meant to kind of supplement a pharmacy assistant rather than replace it. So this is the basic concept of our design, and users can place mobile orders on our app. They can also set reminders for pickups and for when to take their prescriptions. Basically, going through the requirements, we said that we defined a user. We mainly targeted older users, so you can see that in our UX we went for a very simplified model. We also did that because we're dealing with prescription drugs, so this is something more of a serious matter, and we really wanted to kind of prevent errors and make everything seem exactly where it's supposed to be. Nothing hidden, nothing kind of fancy, no gimmicks. So yeah, basically we wanted, the main thing we wanted to do was set pickup times for prescriptions and basically notify users of key information.
And as part of the scoping of the project, we kind of considered some factors out of scope, like the interaction with the pharmacist itself and some of the actual logistical aspects of the app. We focused a little more on the interface of it. So for the actual usability protocol, we wanted to first evaluate the efficiency of it. So after we developed our app, we did a paper prototype and a low fidelity and then a high fidelity prototype. And then we adjusted that as well after doing user testing. So the way that we did user testing, the usability protocol, we evaluated the number of errors that the users made for each main task that we had. As well, we reported the time that it took to complete each task to see if anything was harder to do than anything else. As well, we wanted to see what the user experience was, like what the user's actual opinion was of the app as well. So we did a pre-evaluation survey just to see essentially how well they fit into our user group that we were designing for. As well, we did a user observation and a think aloud protocol. So when they went through every step in our test, they would verbally explain what they were thinking and what was going on. We also utilized an SUS score so, as well to determine more data about how the users felt about it.
So yeah, these are the basic iterations we went through. We said we started with a paper prototype. We didn't include it here. We had a couple sketches of what something could look like. Then we basically built a non-functional just layout to get an idea for the screen size. And here you can see the page that is My Pharmacies. So this just shows you your saved pharmacies and the ability to add new ones. And then the other one here is the order status page. You see how we changed through it. Basically looked the same. This was the kind of final one because users said the loading bar was a little bit arbitrary, so we ended up going with more of a pie chart symbol, like a clock coming to completion, and we changed the fonts a little bit. So yeah. Then, so we're just going to take you through a quick demo of our app. So I think you were asking about if we coded it or not. We use a program called Figma. We are engineering students. We do code, but it's not our strongest field, and this was a kind of a quicker way to design an interface. So this is basically what we use to test it. All it is you click buttons. So if you want to go through the functions, like the first one we tested was adding a prescription. This is the home screen. They would just click add a prescription, take a photo of it. So this would be kind of like your banking when you deposit a check. Take the photo, and then you're good with it. Then you would choose which pharmacy to send it to. So you would send it to Spadina. That's the only one you have saved right now. And then this would prevent errors just in case, because in real life, when you send a prescription to a pharmacy, when you bring it there, you can't. It's very difficult to bring it to another pharmacy. So we kind of had to mimic this within our app. So once we send it there, then it's sent, and prompts the user to set a pickup time for the prescription. So yeah, we go through again, standard UX design. We didn't want anything like gimmicky. We wanted something that users could recognize right away and knew how to use. So we send the order, and then we give them the ability to set a reminder. If they don't want to, they can click X. Same thing, good. And then they exit out, and then we'll take them to the order status. So we can go back now. Yes, and then we click my prescriptions. Be another page that we haven't seen. Order again would take them to the same page. If we go back now, go to my prescriptions again, and we can also click the prescriptions that they already have. So we click that, and then we get information on the prescriptions. We can set refills, set reminders. Take the prescription, gives you information. Also, a key thing that we kind of got feedback that would be good for monetizing the app is sort of prompting the user to enter what they any symptoms, side effects that they had while using the app. So that's kind of an extra feature that we have. So yeah, we can also see my pharmacies, but you've seen that page. It looks very similar to the one. So that's pretty much what our app looks like and the functionality that we tested. So yeah, we can go back to the presentation. So that was the app that we tested, and then we got some results. We measured a few things. We measured the time to complete a task. So the 3 tasks were adding a prescription, adding a pharmacy, and setting a refill. Those are the 3 tasks. Those are the times to complete the task for users. And then on the left, we see the SUS scores, which was the satisfaction, how the users felt while using the app. So kind of a contrast between quantitative and qualitative. And then from those results, we came up with a bunch of changes for our next iteration.
So the main thing that we found during our usability testing was that the users didn't find that we were giving them as much feedback as we thought we were. So for one that you already saw on the slides, when they added pharmacy to favorites, everybody said they wanted to see the heart turn red. So we changed that and we added some more feedback, like it said my favorites instead of my pharmacies, so hopefully that was more helpful. Also, easily recovering from errors. On a lot of the pages, the back button would just take you back home, and this was because you've done something like sent a prescription to a pharmacy and it can't be undone. So going back to that page wouldn't really make sense, but a lot of users were confused by this, so we decided that we're going to put an intermediate page in that when you click back it says, hey, you've already done this, you can't go back, but at least the users knew where they were. And the last one was consistency and standards. Again, this was with the heart. A lot of people kept trying to click the heart to add it to their favorites because this is really similar to a lot of social media sites like Instagram and things where you like things. So we also made that heart functional as well.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have any questions, comments, feedback, anything to add? Sure.
In your chart, you were showing it by user.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of why one of the users took way longer on the 3rd task than the others?
Yeah, that was one of our more interesting findings. Yeah, what we found actually is that we thought that we would find one task that took exceptionally longer than the rest, but when we tested with our 5 users, the last one there's just the average. I don't think you can see it on this, but when we tested with the 5 users, we found that actually depending on the user, the different steps took longer to there was no correlation or pattern. One of the reasons why we thought is because some of the tasks we asked, such as like order a refill for your medication, we tested other students just due to time constraints and everything. Some of them weren't really familiar with what that meant, like that a refill is based on a prescription that you already had. So certain things like that took longer. Like they didn't understand some of them. Yeah.
Is this just an exercise, or you actually think of taking it to market?
It was just an exercise for our course. It was about doing an app that does good for the community.
Okay, so, and have you ever called in for a prescription and used the phone?
No, I've only brought it to.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's out there now that you should look at and think. Have you looked at the electronic drug prescription database?
The only thing that we did benchmarking at the start, so we looked at current apps like Shoppers, Rexall, like they all have their apps rated in the corner now.
You have to, so the doctor has to, every prescription that goes in has a number.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to be checked against
Within
that. I can go through a whole
Yeah.
thing. That's why I asked the first question.
Mm-hmm.
But
It was definitely a concern, especially like that was one of the things that was brought up was that prescriptions are a very serious matter, and like we don't want fake prescriptions being filled or anything like that. So
and
definitely if we took it
insurance
there.
company, right? So there's
Yeah.
a huge, which also have their own apps,
Yeah,
right?
those are like implementation challenges.
So, okay.
That's good.
Who were your participants in your research study?
Yeah,
Who
it
did you
was,
test it on?
unfortunately, it was just students. So it was something we mentioned in our report, but we definitely were aware of the fact that we should be testing more mature users.
Were they students who had prescription experience before, or not necessarily?
We tried as much as we could
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
find, but
Okay.
young people don't use prescriptions as often, so.
Okay. So new users, got it.
Yeah. We are aware of that, though. We're very aware.
Also, we have to tie up with the doctor's office because they
Yes.
like to fax things in. They will not send email.
And
A whole
pharmacy.
bunch of little
Pharmacist has to verify it too.
Right, and those numbers all have to be verified. So.
Good.
Right.
One last question.
Sure.
So, what do you think would have changed in terms of your observations in the testing if you actually had your target demographic?
I think in terms of the results that we saw, it may have been a bit more, I guess like in terms of like the different tasks taking longer depending on prior knowledge and everything like that. If we had the chance to test more of our target demographic, I feel like we may have gotten a little bit of a better sense maybe about which of the few tasks that we did test were like which ones took the longest and everything like that.
A better sense of like where the design was the issue versus like the people just didn't understand what we were saying or had no experience with it.
Yeah.
Question?
You had said, I think near the end, that you can enter your symptoms into the app.
Yes.
This is a way to monetize it. How does that work exactly?
It's like how companies like Air Miles, they sell their data, right? That's why they give you points, because they eventually sell what you're spending your money on. So things like that, it's feedback to drug companies about their drugs. And not only the money aspect, maybe like as well, the doing good aspect. If a drug is hurting people and maybe like they're isolated and they don't know that it's actually affecting more people, you can see the data coming back like, wow, this drug is giving everyone like stomach aches.
It would be a good analytical tool just to see what common side effects were.
One more question. Jake, go ahead.
I know a pharmacist in real life, and they rely heavily on like their knowledge sharing is not so great in big hospitals and all like the big ones, where like pharmacists go and call in, just like doctors, because like that particular individual has the information that she
Yeah.
consult with. And so having I think is a good idea, like having something that can be used remotely could like, have great business implications for that. But I would caution the confidentiality of the data information that you need to share.
Yeah, that's true as well. Pros and cons.
All right, thank you.
So, I'm part of a group called Voluntree, and Voluntree is our solution for sustaining intrinsic volunteering motivation within individuals in the community. And the app is basically, it features intercommunity competition, giving the ability for users to find volunteering opportunities, track their volunteering contributions, support social causes that are important to them, and share their experiences with their friends and family. And this was in response to one of sort of the deep-rooted problems that we found within volunteering in the community, and that is that people tend not to have, they do not have the time or availability to volunteer, but we also found that that's not really the main problem. The main problem is that there's a lack of intrinsic motivation. So that's the motivation to do something without expecting reward or like monetary gain. So that is one problem that we found with volunteering within the community. So within our app, we use concepts of gamification and normification. We use a balance of both in order to capture and retain people's interest in giving back to the community. Through collaboration with others and having inter-community competition rather than individual competition, we sort of enhance the experience of volunteering and giving back as a whole, as a community. So the goal for this app is that users will find satisfaction through communal achievement versus individual achievement. So the first thing we did was we did a lot of user research and requirements gathering. So we put out an online questionnaire, and we got about 120 responses, which was actually quite a lot. We did this to sort of gauge people's interest in the idea of the app, as well as gather some information on what people would be expecting our app to have and how they would be using this app. And that helped us develop some of our main requirements. And as you can see here, so our app would basically allow users to find volunteering communities and opportunities based on their interests. We would allow users to create their own account and log their volunteering contributions. We would display community rankings and achievements. We would store their user information in a database and provide a means to share their experience with others. So we first developed a low-fidelity prototype, and this was done using Acture. So it was actually a very limited amount of screens, but due to time constraints. But we further fleshed this out once we moved to the high-fidelity prototype. As you can see here, I'll just go through a quick demonstration. Okay, so this is the main screen, the login screen. So we basically tested users, like new users. So if they were a new user, you click here. So the sign up page, you sign up. Then you go back to login. And this is sort of the main newsfeed screen. And this is what users would first see once they log in. So it's very similar to Facebook, where you can make a post here. You can view posts, and this would sort of be a post just by someone in the community posting about an opportunity that's available. Users would also be able to explore. So on this page, we put sort of previews of opportunities that they would be able to attend or look at, as well as communities. And say we click on this community. This would sort of be a community page. It's also very similar to Facebook. It would show the ranking of the community as well as the number of points that that community has accumulated. You can see the members available, and if you're not a member yet, you join. It tells you, okay, you can go to my community, so this is now my communities page, and you can see the communities that you've joined, as well as the leaderboard of communities that have accumulated the most amount of points. And within a community, there are then active challenges that individuals can sort of complete and contribute points to their community. So for example, I'll click this one, view the challenge, and then users would sort of, outside of the app, so that's not within our scope, but outside of the app they would sort of they would find a way to complete this challenge, and then go back into our app and they would be able to log the contribution. So you would select your community, select the challenge, fill out all this information, submit it, and then as you can see here, yay, they've added 50 points to their tree huggers community. And then they have the option to share it as well. We also give users the option to create a profile, and over here you can see the communities that they're a part of, the points that they've earned, and they can set their own goal. So that's the demonstration of our prototype. This was all done using InVision, so we didn't actually code any of it, but the layout was, the high fidelity layout was mostly done using Sketch and then imported into InVision. Okay, so after our high fidelity prototype was developed, we conducted a usability test. And our users that we tested were mainly between the age of 15 to 25, so that's sort of within the high school students range as well as the university students range, and a few working adults. And we found that this sort of platform would most appeal to youth, so that's why we chose that age range. We tested them on these 8 tasks, and for each of these tasks we recorded the number of errors that occurred, as well as the time that it took them to complete the task. And what we found was actually that the task that took the longest was actually one of the main tasks, the main focus of this app, and that was joining a volunteer community and viewing a community challenge. And that was mostly because the communities page as well as the Explore page were sort of not distinct enough from each other, so users were very confused as to which page to go to when they wanted to find a community and join it. Sorry, give me one sec. So this is one of our recommended design changes because many users found it very confusing that these 2 pages were separate. So especially because the tab down here doesn't necessarily say My Communities, it just says Community. So when we told users to go find a community to join, the first tab that they would go to was the Communities tab, whereas we had it originally within the Explore tab. So our intention for this page was for the communities that the user has already joined. So that's why it was a little confusing for the user. So one of the recommended design changes, we would sort of combine those pages into one, and that would make for a more sort of like easier accessibility for those communities, and clearly outline sort of what are communities that you have joined and what communities are out there. So that's what we have here. We have my communities and we have suggested communities, and then below that is the leaderboard. Another thing that we found was that on elements of the prototype such as this, users would often try and click, for example, like this part of the element, which wouldn't necessarily link to another page, so the navigation was not as smooth. And in order to sort of solve that, we made the entire element clickable instead of this little arrow. Another thing that we found was that the challenges, because it was very deep within the hierarchy of the pages, so you would have to go into a community in order to find a challenge. And one way we solved this was to take it out of, not take it out of the page, but create a new page just for challenges, so people could access this page very conveniently and very quickly. And they would be able to star a challenge and sort of add it to their favorites. And also making the challenges more salient on a community page. So this is sort of before, and this is after when we added more salience to the challenges. So those are a few of the design changes, and that's our prototype.
First of all, props for like representing your team there. So that's pretty cool. And also like this idea is really fun. I really like the idea of trying to get community, building like fostering community. I'm wondering if since you mentioned kind of like Facebook, but whereas this has a specific focus, would you imagine some like what type of moderation would go into this? Because to prevent people from just posting whatever they want in those community boards, like, how would you focus everything?
Yeah, so within, that was definitely something that we thought about when we were creating the app. There's a whole bunch of there's privacy issues, anything basically that could apply to Facebook. Things could get way out of hand. What happens if the communities get too big? Are people still motivated? Those are kind of problems that we did think about, but within the scope of this course and this project, we didn't actually tackle those. So if we were to take this and implement it, yeah, that would definitely be something we would look at. Yes.
I really like it. I like the idea of just creating this community practice around volunteering. Also, I think there's a lot of potential for that one feature where you do something for a community and then you get to log it in.
Yeah.
So I feel like oftentimes when people volunteer, they just kind of walk away knowing that they did something, but this is quantifying almost, and you can visually see what you're contributing to that. So you're adding on to that organization's nonprofit goals, right? So to speak. I really like it. I also like the gamification. However, so let's say your profile has a lot of points, and then what's the reward that I'm getting? Other than seeing a huge number in the profile, which makes me feel good about myself. But other than that, is there not a kind of reward system for these users?
So the reason why we didn't actually implement any, we didn't put too much focus on that portion was because that's more of the individual achievement. So we sort of had it there on the profiles page, and that's sort of the only place where you see it. And we didn't actually add any sort of end reward because that's something we wanted to move away from. So the whole purpose of the app was sort of to induce that sustain intrinsic motivation. So not give users something they can work towards just so I want to volunteer more just so I can get a monetary reward. So the main focus of this was on the community achievement, and by doing that, using concepts of normification getting users to contribute without sort of expecting anything. So we put the goal there just for people's personal sort of sake, like they wanted to see how much they've contributed on their own. But yeah, that was sort of something we wanted to move away from, and that's the reason why we don't have anything
Okay,
there.
so that's interesting because the points are still adding on though, right? So
Yeah.
it's I guess there's no limit to this number.
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I
infinite,
guess-
you're
yeah,
just
I guess
looking at it. Also, I wanted to say that the search feature is really where the needs are, because like oftentimes people want to volunteer, they just don't know where to find them. So you created something where I can like type in something that interests me, right? Like homelessness, and then like I'll see a bunch of
Yeah,
things.
so yeah.
That's like a really easy user experience that you created for it.
Yeah. Last question.
Yeah, I love the concept. I was actually more of a tactical question. It's very visually appealing what's been created here. And you use some great tools. You use Axure and Envision and Sketch. And I'm just curious, did your team or team members have experience with those tools before, or what did you find was the learning curve when it came to using those to be so visually appealing?
So within our team, I was actually the one who did all of the actual prototyping and using the applications. Personally, I've had experience just because I'm very interested in user experience design. So like the past year, I've just been doing a lot of just sort of extracurricular outside of school work using these sort of tools, and that's how I was able to sort of do all of this. I found the learning curve was not that bad. For Axure, the learning curve is a little higher. I know I've tried to get some of my team members to get on it, but it takes a while to get used to. Sketch was a lot better than Adobe Illustrator. So Sketch is a lot easier to use, and Envision is kind of just like you upload things to it, so it's not the learning curve that wasn't too bad. But yes.
Thank you.
Meant for the brave. So far too often I sat in class and seminars wanting to share my thoughts, wanting to share my input, but afraid of looking like an idiot, so I'll just kind of sit there. And lastly, in history, abstract thinking and critical thinking skills are very important. However, there are something that's very difficult for the student to track. And so before I knew it, very early on in my undergraduate studies, I lost my passion for history.
So I would say Jude's story doesn't have a happy ending. And in fact, with his stories in mind, our team had to investigate what's going on with the current history learning experience. So overall, our team had surveyed 84 participants as undergrad students, and we have observed 276 students in a big history lecture hall. And we have discovered that Jude is not alone. And in fact, up to 80% of students don't feel they are stimulated in the history classroom. And 45% of them identify inactivity as cause of lack of concentrations. And almost 80% of them prefer visual components when learning history. But today, I would want to say that looking at those high numbers, I can't help to think, what if those numbers are reversed? So what if Jude had enjoyed every single moment of his classroom experience in learning history? What if those 80% of students who are so inspired by their experiences and went on their journey to become history experts that contribute to our society? And there are so much potentials and possibilities coming out from a good experiences. And today, I would like to introduce you a mobile application that support those potentials and then opportunities for students who learn in history, the PastTour.
other one's playing.
Okay. So how would user actually interact with it? What would I do? Okay. So, can everybody see? Is it too small? Okay, perfect. So this is the home screen of where's my mouse? Over here now. Can't find my mouse.
Keep moving.
No.
So your hand?
Oh,
Yeah, this is right. So drag it all the way to the other side.
Okay, there it is.
oh, there we go. Perfect. So this is the home screen you see in the system. You can see a short introduction of the class. And if you want to view AR objects, you just simply click the middle of the camera. And now you can see the object floating in the classroom when you're sitting right. And then you can choose to interact with this object. You can make a search, learn more, and find more resources that are related with this course content object. You can comment or you can like it. So remember, Jude's issue is that he wasn't able to breathe enough to speak in the class. And this is why we discovered we wanted to have a discussion board. That any questions you're too afraid to speak in the classroom, you can post it there. And then Jude also mentioned that critical thinking ability was important, and it's really hard to track with. And we have invented a function called learning paths, that every single activity and performance that user perform on the system can be tracked down by the system and turn those actions into scores. So you're able to see how many times you have searched a single object and retrieve all of your past citations or learning resources. And if you want to share this awesome fun experience with your friends and family, we have AR Gallery that allows you to retrieve all those AR objects you have viewed in the classroom. If you click on this, now this object appears to your coffee table. Then we really want to make history as a part of daily life, to rethink that history learning should be fun. So how do we know PastTour can fulfill the business goal of AR at the same time giving users the good experience? Now my colleague Betty is going to talk about the design process.
So how do we know PastTour can help improve? So how do we know PastTour can help improve history students' learning experiences? So we first started to discover AR. So what is AR? Augmented reality is superimposing computer-generated content such as graphic and video on top of the physical world to enhance users' perception of our reality. So AR have been used in many different environments. For instance, museums have been using AR to create digital interactive storytelling. So to further explore AR, the whole team read 15 academic papers, and we found that AR has been used to improve students' interest in academic learning. In the classroom, students really love to use new technology, and the use of AR and other digital media also reduce students' cognitive loads. And AR also enrich visualization of course content. This will eventually improve students' performance and their motivation in academic learning. So in this project, our problem space is catered to history students in undergraduate classroom. As Serena mentioned before, our survey observation and interview found that students have a high demand for visualization. However, it's not fulfilled in current classroom. And also there is a lack of engagement among peers and little classroom participation. Student desires to experience a different learning experience.
So after we defined or discovered our problem space, we decided to create 6 different paper prototypes. So with our 6 paper prototypes, we wanted to kind of explore the different possibilities or the different functions and features that our product can offer to our users inside and outside the classroom. So as user experience designers, we asked to ourselves, what kind of experience we want to bring to our users? So with that, we created the conceptual model. So with our conceptual model, we wanted our app to act as kind of like a tour guide. Something or someone who's friendly, reliable, and helpful. The purpose of PastTour is to guide students through their history course. Despite there being hundreds of other students in the classroom, PastTour is able to cater to the students' individual needs while also engaging, which is also helping bring the class together in engaging classroom discussion. So with that conceptual model in mind, we move to the develop stage.
Having a conceptual model in hand help us define our design decisions. What I mean by that, the look and feel of the actual prototype and the application, what functions to include and what not to include, and what features we should put in the prototype. Now, at the end, we were able to design our interactive prototype using Sketch, Acture, and Envision. The next stage in development is to formally test the usability of this prototype. Now, what we are trying to measure here is the effectiveness and the efficiency of the actual system. 10 real users participated in the usability test, in which we used testing scenarios and tasks to guide the usability test, and we utilized surveys and interviews to collect quantitative and qualitative data, in which it got analyzed by transcripting the recorded information and using Excel. So a summary of the result is we have a 70% satisfaction of the actual prototype, or using the actual prototype, with the users frequently mentioning words like visualization, comfort, art, and high tech.
Now, let me show you a little bit more changes that we did based on our usability result. So, one of the tasks that we have asked people to perform during our usability testing is that the level of difficulty of accessing my pass. So on the left, you can see this is the first generation that of prototype we made in Acture. And on the right is a prototype we made in Sketch. So what we discovered is that learning paths is really important for students, and they think it's very useful. But however, this particular task has a very high rate of failure, because in students' conceptuals, they cannot really link the word path with their history of learning. So therefore, we change the label into learning path, so that this label can be more intuitively for the students to view their past performance. As well as we also changed the theme color, because the previous theme color is not very visually appearing, and then watching it can be very eye-tiring. Therefore, consider what kind of setting that our user is going to use, and what kind of mood they might be stressed, they may be tired of learning in class. We change our theme color into more calming, and then with bigger and more visual icons. So another task that we ask students to perform is level of difficulty to revisiting the AR object. Again, this one has a particular high level of failure rate because the labels. So a lot of the students were saying that gallery does not appear to them as something they can retrieve AR object, particularly with the word AR. So therefore, we change gallery into AR gallery, that this is AR object that you can retrieve from the gallery. And on the left layout, it doesn't appear to user that that's something the object can click through. Therefore, we made the object bigger and put a background block behind it, so that to indicate that this object is clickable. So now we all know that user experience is an iterative process. Looking in the future, if PastTour is actually implemented in the real history classroom setting, there is going to be more iterations and more features and then colors, or even more changes to fulfill different users, different type of students' need, and even more accommodating into accessibility issues. So, and what we see is that AR has a lot of potentiality step into the educational field, that helping students visualize their class content not only in history but also in fields that like medicals or surgeon trainings. At the end, our goal of PastTour is to put an end to student stories. That as user experience designers, we're always striving for a better experience. And at the end of the day, history is about humanity. that we want really to give people a good experience that from if they are learning from the past. Once they have a good learning experience from learning the past, they're able to make better future decisions. So now I would invite everyone to re-experience history with PastTour. Thank you.
So was this meant to be used in class
Yes.
while the lecture's on, or is it to be used after or instead of going to class?
So it is meant to be used in classroom, and then this is why we had an interview with history professors. And do you want to talk about some of the findings with using this application in class?
So with using the application in class, I think it's majority of it is also content-based just because of like the copyright issues. So it's also pretty much catered to how the professor kind of wants to tailor and how long they want to use the technology for. And also we do have features which the student can use outside the classroom when they save their AR objects, and they can view it outside of classroom time as well.
But there is stuff out there already made that you could probably bring into it. The Met, the Modern, all of these use this kind of stuff. There are apps out there now
Yes.
that do this. But you have to make a conglomerate of the different assets that you need to make this together. I think that's a really important thing. As somebody who teaches and has students on the phone as well as sitting in front of computers all the time, I try to send things out that can be looked at either on the phone or online, and all of this is going on at the same time. So what you have to do is really think through the timeline, what you're going to have to put together, and how you're going to regulate that usage. And then it gets really interesting because then it becomes assets to take home and study from.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of reasoning.
Yeah, like we completely agree with you on that. And we also did classroom observations, and then we also noticed that a lot of students were on their phones regardless.
I mean,
So we're just like, why not bring this into the classroom setting? But yeah, for sure, definitely look into that.
Yeah, since students already using their phone in classroom, so if like professor can encourage them to use their phone during class, so this AR have like potential like to encourage them to be more engaged and more interactive, so they can use their phone for 10 minutes, and then all students can be refocused into the professor.
So the next follow-on from this, just quickly, this is all web-based?
This is a mobile application, and you can also use it in your iPad.
So the other thing is you're going to have to make sure there's Wi-Fi setups. You have 300 people using this app on Wi-Fi. You're going to bring down, or it's not going to work. So those are all part of the design problem. They're not necessarily tech issues, they're design issues.
You might not need like Wi-Fi or data if you have iBeacons. I don't know if you're going to heard of that, like place students strategically in the lecture hall. But I was just thinking practically, like if I'm in a lecture hall with 1,100 students and we all have our phones out, we have pointed to the same general area while the professor's speaking. What did the professor say when you spoke to them? They were generally okay with that? That they'd be distracted for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever that happened to be?
So, I think based on our observation too and our research or surveys, most of when it comes to history classrooms, most of the professor's teaching style is very narrative. So the professor just starts and then they don't stop talking until class is finished. So it's pretty much, it's hard for a student to just sit and listen to every word because everyone has different styles of learning. So we just kind of use this app so just that if a student is stuck on a certain content or material, that they're able to kind of ask questions on relevant objects.
I also want to add, we went based on what our users told us, right? And our users were students. So it's an interesting dichotomy, right? First, what the educators want to install in their classroom structure versus what the classrooms currently today are desiring. And so, I mean, I don't think we have a good answer to that and how it's going to be implemented to a way.
I don't think anybody has a good answer.
Yeah.
And how it's going to be monitored when it's being actually used. But we did see a strong desire from our users to have to change the traditional classroom structure.
No, I admire the fact that you guys are listening to your users and the fact that they're bored in class, which is a real thing. I'm just thinking, like, if I were some of my engineering professors, thinking of what they were like, would they have been okay with me doing that? Who knows, but interesting ideas.
Yeah, I mean, even with, I was talking to one of my professors when I was doing the professor interview, and he has been teaching over 30 years, and so he's been using different technologies over the years, so from just formal teaching on the chalkboard to projector, to doing videos, and like VHS to DVD, so it's just like, every time a new technology is introduced, it's always like, oh, how is it going to play in the classroom? But I feel like if there's a lot more research done, I think there is a way to strategically kind of...
There is a big move in what's called reverse learning. So you would do this stuff away from school and go into the classroom having already gained the information and then it becomes a much different situation.
All right, great job, guys.
Good evening, everyone. We're Team 6 Dimension. It's blinding me. This is Haley, Janet, Lynn, Ellen, Maria. My name is Sori, and today we focus on the design of a mobile banking for UX. It's our product. So we rely so much on mobile phones. We order food, we do shopping on mobile phones, and we find dates on mobile phones. It's not surprising that we use phones to do banking activities. However, the key features for mobile banking have remained the same since its beginning. So our user, Millennial Mills, still has to go into bank branch to talk to financial advisors. He still has to go, he still needs a wallet to carry cards and cash. And there are different apps out there, but they're all complementary apps, and there's no primary key mobile banking app that supports all users' needs. So how can we make mobile banking experience more user-centric? How can we make banking more mobile first? To answer these questions, please allow us to introduce our design solution, Ginny.
So this is Genie, our prototype. You can begin by logging into the app. So this is the home screen where you can use a slider to view certain features like the account balance and the account summary. So this is like a quick link, so if you click on one of these, you can actually go to the page from this home page. So this is an example of clicking on it. So let's use the voice command feature. So you would say, Genie, how much did I spend on shopping this month? And it gives you the answer. You can also view details. So this page shows the overview, budget, and your transaction history or your activities. You can return home and let's say that you needed to, or you had already paid for dinner for yourself and 2 friends last night, and you need to split the bill. So you select the transaction from your transactions list, hit save, go back, continue, and select the contacts from the contacts list, continue, request money, review the details on the page, click request money, and confirmation using Face ID is an added layer of security. Now Helen will talk about the design process.
So how we come up to identify the feature, the first step is to do research. Lynn, can you tell us how we did the user research?
Yes, okay. So for the user research, we have done both primary and secondary research. And for the primary, we have implemented surveys and on-site interview and observation and in-depth interview to identify our main user groups. So we got 61 participants for our survey and 18 participants for our on-site interview and observations on the CIBC and TD and BMO branches. And we got 12 participants for our in-depth interviews. And our participants were mainly 18 to 25 years old who use the mobile banking apps. And for the secondary research, we have done the literature reviews on the user needs and market and trends and future technology that we think might helpful for our user design solutions. And the secondary research results show that mobile banking is the future trending, and both methods confirm that the young people are the major user of the mobile applications. And the young people are also feel it is essential to keep up to date to the latest technology, and their primary purpose of using mobile banking app are to check account balance, transfer money, and pay bills.
Thank you, Lin. So our design started with the paper prototype, which allow us to illustrate the design concept. We then transferred it to high fidelity by using the tool Just in Mind and Sketch. We also conduct usability testing with 18 participants before finalizing the product. So let's see what we have changed. So we removed the pie chart from home screen because we got a report that participants don't want to have the numbers show on the first screen. Instead, we add the bill notification feature to remind users the bill they have to pay. And for the second task, we add more chart to visualize the banking activities. And we make the button of selecting a spending category more obvious to user, as from the testing, they took a long time to find it. And for splitting bill features, we redesigned to allow user clicking on the transaction history, so they won't be confused about the number to input. And also the summary page gives more detail about each person's portion to pay. Overall, users all like our mobile pay feature. The tap and the pay on the phone replace the physical banking card. And also we add a new feature, the voice command, which serves as an alternative path to all the features if users don't want to click through their phone. So how users like about our new prototype? Let's ask Jenny to give us more detail.
Okay, so thank you, Helen. So to test the latest version of our high fidelity prototype, we asked participants to perform 2 tasks during the usability testing sessions. So the first task was to check how much was spent on shopping in the current month. All of the participants followed the default path and they completed the task without any issue. And the second task was to request money from friends by using the spitball feature we have on the prototype. However, this time some participants, they needed assistance when carrying out the task. They didn't realize that they could go to the transaction history to find the record for splitting the bill. Instead, they tried to manually input the money amount. So this may be something we have to look into in the next design iteration. But overall, participants enjoyed using our features, such as account infographics, spending categories, and split bill. They also like the aesthetics of our prototype. So now I'll pass on to Haley to talk about the next steps of our project.
So we maintain the traditional design in our banking app. At the same time, we incorporate new technology feature on the app. So for our next step, we'll keep improving better design and doing usability testing to fix the problem we found before. In addition, today we are already improving from a visual UI towards a speech-driven and video-driven user interface. So we will unlock the potential to improve user experience in mobile banking by adopting AR and VR technology for our following features. So these features we create a visual and virtual world where a customer can ask questions, do transaction, and consult any service anytime, anywhere. So therefore, we think this way of interacting with customers goes beyond providing mobile banking services. It will change customers' daily lives.
Okay, thank you, Ellie, for the summary of our key features as well as our feature direction in our product design. And so with these exciting features like AR and VR, we did ask our participants whether you're interested in using these features. And surprisingly, participants said no. people are reluctant to try new features, of course, because banking is more of a conservative industry. So how can we encourage these people to switch their banking behaviors? We came up with 3 suggestions, and first would be our app Genie, which would serve as a middle ground from traditional banking app design to futuristic design. And second would be emphasizing on social aspects, such as splitting bills or even e-transfer. You can transfer money between people easily, so that encourages people to download and use this app more often. And thirdly, we'll be focusing on security. So even with the new future features, it's very important to keep the security feature for banking apps. So we think that these are our suggestions for any banking apps. And if you have any comments, questions, if you're from banking industry, please feel free to share your ideas. Thank you.
Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more on participants' reaction to voice commands?
So participants, I think they didn't really realize that that there is a voice command button on the screen. So they tend to go to like the more conservative default path of navigating to my accounts and finding those features instead of using the voice.
So did you maybe have any kind of probing when you were doing usability testing to try to elicit that feedback, or that's maybe on your to-do list for the future?
Yes, that's our to-do list in the future.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. It integrates many different things. It's a good idea. On AI, you said people weren't interested in that, artificial intelligence.
No, they weren't.
I used to work at IBM, and they have Watson, so that's big in AI. And I found that many of the banking clients who we would work with in AI specifically, oftentimes they would use AI in such a way that their customers would not even know that they're using AI. For example, chatbots, I think is a use case that's quite prevalent in financial services. So for you guys, for a future iteration of this, that's something to think about. Could we add a chatbot of some type where the user has no idea this is not a human being? And
So that was our initial idea, to include kind of live chat thing, because then people wouldn't notice that they're actually using this AI feature. But then we decided to go with more futuristic approach, just to show that this is a middle ground to a farther futuristic feature. So this is our decision process.
There's AI back end with a lot of things, sensing from Adobe runs the whole back end. A lot of stuff you can say now, I want pictures of mountains, and just go up and find your pictures of mountains. So there's a whole area there that can be incorporated in just what did I do Tuesday? You can bring up everything that you did on Tuesday.
Right, because one of the frustrations for our user would be having to go on desktop to do banking activities.
You're also carrying GPS, so it tracks everything that you do.
Right.
So all of that should be put into this as well. Also, a wider search. So if you look at Walmart, for instance, you walk into Walmart, they know who bought what, where you're from. Every single item. So that you want to get into, be able to track all of that. Otherwise, you're just going to have a regular bank app, which is every bank has one. But if you can find out everything, so I get a daily spreadsheet on what I bought, what I spent, what came out of my banks, everything come together.
If you want.
Yes, if you want.
Any other comments? Thank you.
Oh, wait, one more question.
Yeah, so I have a question about your home screen when you land.
Yes.
So you have a nice welcome message. I thought the carousel was an interesting choice, and I I kind of normally hate when you hide things in the carousel format. Like I think they're really great for gallery or somewhere
Was that part of your demo?
what features going through. But I think you have like a balance of one of your accounts and then another item, which I don't think you necessarily know what was there without swiping through there. There's also a lot, like, I mean, because you have a lot of features, I think it's great that you thought of like the whole, like everything you can do with banking. But there's also, and then like, different people have, let's say, like maybe 5 different types of accounts, different financial projects, and they have like, on both on the credit debt side, and you have a mortgage, line of credit, et cetera, et cetera. It's a very complicated space. And it's very hard to design for everyone. I know you like interview a lot of people, which is amazing in your survey. But at the same time, your split billing feature is really cool. I think that's like something that could almost be, like to focus on that, if you get that right, would probably take a lot of testing iteration just for that one feature. So I guess it's just an overall question of like, are you trying to do everything, or are you trying to do like are you trying to just like be more breadth or more depth?
We're trying to just be more innovative, especially about the interface design. We found after looking at a few other, more well-known competitors, banks that exist today that are more popular, they all seem to follow one type of interface, which is very straightforward. And like you said, you were maybe not so comfortable with the sliding mechanism or the carousel, but most of the banks right now, they just have the one menu bar that you have to scroll for ages to find information. So we thought this was maybe one way to address that, make it more different, unique,
And
encourage people to explore.
specifically answer your question, I think that we were trying to come up with kind of a solution, because we noticed that there are lots of other apps doing different things, but banking apps always been traditionally the same.
Yeah.
So we wanted to incorporate and like experiment with what kind of feature can be incorporated into traditional item right now in a way that people won't be like, wow, like, I'm so used to using the traditional app, but suddenly they're asking me to use like a VR feature of app, or like I do account statement in this VR stage. That would be too strange for people. So our goal was to find this like right middle ground for people to not react to surprise.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I just want to follow up with that, saying like I think the swiping thing is actually really cool. If you were like push it further, like maybe swipe through to see everything, but like I know you didn't really test that in your 2 scenarios, so that's what I'm kind of just curious about.
So our rationale for having swiping thing was that from our research we found out that people didn't want to show their balance on homepage for security reason, privacy reason. So that was our way to quickly have access to balance. At the same time, we hide it when you first log in.
That's really smart.
Nice. Okay.
We are the creators of the app Popcorn, a complimentary app for home movie streaming that allows you to watch movies alone and together. This is our group. We're an eclectic mix of Master of Information UXD students and Master of Mechanical Industrial Engineering students. My name is Sho. This is Jay. This is Tom and Jocelyn. Our 5th group member, Rachel, unfortunately is in China now, so she couldn't be here. So when you go to the theater with your friends, one of the aspects of that makes the experience so great are the conversations that you have in the line and in the car ride home with your friends. And we feel that when you stream movies at home alone, that experience is completely lost. And we wanted to build something that could bring that experience of talking about movies with your friends and bringing it to the home streaming experience. The problem space that we're investigating, as you can see, we wanted to know how can we augment the primary movie streaming experience through the use of a second screen? How can we help with movie discovery? And how can we facilitate social interaction between movie lovers? Our product includes a number of new features Most notably is the introduction of a new business model. So in addition to Cineplex's current business model that includes renting and buying of digital movies, we're adding something that we're calling crowd streaming, which uses fixed starting times and a reduced cost. And it's an opportunity for companies to subsidize that reduced cost even further through advertising. We also implemented groups for movie fans to have conversations about a genre or a movie specifically, and to enable them to form real-world meetups, as well as a more comprehensive movie rating system that aggregates a wider variety of sources. Our process for this project, we use the design thinking process, which starts with research, low-fidelity prototyping and testing, which moved on to high-fidelity prototyping and testing, which brought us to our current design iteration. And I'll pass it on to Jay to talk about our research.
Thank you, Sean. So let's talk about the user need analysis. We start with the literature review. It was like part of our preliminary research, and we did the 80 people survey that shows us like people substantially use the social media while they watch movie in their home, and people also search like content related search in the internet while they watch the movie and stuff like that. We did the 10 one-on-one interview with the people, asking them about their experience with the group movie watching and solo movie watching experience. And they say like group movie watching is something kind of fun, but it could be disturbing. And on the other hand, people say like when they watch movie alone, it would help them to concentrate on the content, but it's get boring after some time. Based on those survey and the interview result, we built our low fidelity prototypes with the features that facilitate the social media interactions while they watch the movie. We had 5 different prototypes. We test those prototypes in class with more than 25 participants, and based on their feedbacks, we come up with this positive and negatives of our low fidelity prototype. People say they like the idea about the synchronized streaming that helps them to watch the movie with their friends and family remotely, but at the same time. This group watching facility also gives a nice business model which allows the lower movie streaming, lower money cost in the movie streaming. Also, people like the idea of discovery of new people and make new friends based on the similar interest of movie watching. But people have some issues with the navigations in the app itself, and they don't like the appropriate icon selection in our application. As well as they say that they would prefer text-based chatting room rather than having video chat or voice chat, because it could be more disturbing than focusing on the primary screen. So after this feedback, we created our high fidelity prototype that Masam will talk about.
So for high fidelity, we tested it on like 10 participants, mostly UOT students that we personally knew. And then they did 5 tasks, and each session lasted for like 30 minutes. So they liked the concept of the app, especially like that it was cheap and they could watch movies with other people. So it was like a cheaper and more convenient option to like going to the theater. And they also like that while they are watching the movie, they could like converse with people about like what's going on at the moment. But they still have like some navigation issues, mostly due to like label ambiguity and font size. So for label ambiguity, for instance, on the page on the left, this was like for a feature where they could like create screenings with other fans, and like label just said create one, and people were confused as to what they were creating. So we modified the page to have like 2 sections, group screenings and group meetings. So when participants are in the group screenings, they know that that button of creating it has something to do with like screenings. And for like font size on the left, the discover group was too small and people didn't see it when we told them to like look for features inside. And for like the modified version, we decided to, instead of having like 3 rows, to have just 1 row where they could like vertically like scroll. And next,
Justin is going to show you a demo of our app.
So thank you, Nansen. So after getting feedbacks and from the usability testing, and we analyzed the severity of the feedbacks and we made some changes. So the following video will show how our key features work. So let's log into our app with the social media, and the top part is the screenings upcoming for today. And the middle part is the movies that the users can discover for information, and the bottom is the friends group that the users can join. And for example, if you want to watch the La La Land movie page shows the audience who have joined the La La Land and also the time for the screenings. And click on the earliest time for you and pay with long price, you will get confirmation of with the time reminder. And then if you are curious about the Zootopia, how the movies look like, you can click on that, and there are 3 options for watching. And we also have the combined ratings, both from your friends and also from the online movie database, such as IMDb. And if you like the movie, you can just save it with the heart button. And then go back to homepage. If the user is a big fan of Harry Potter, then go to the Harry Potter fans group page. There are upcoming group screenings, and also there's offline group meetups. And join the group, then we can join the group. And within the group chats, you can schedule the group screenings at your favorite time, or you can schedule the group meetups for you to like interact with the friends offline. And the last feature is the chats. So the ongoing movie chats is always on the top, and join the chats, you can get spoiler-free live chat room. So by far, our app has augmented the first screening experience by integrating social interaction, and we also help the users to reduce the users' movie discovery time. And so in the next step, we would like to add some more features to make our app to be more complete. So the first feature we would like to add is the ratings of screenings. If we want to get more improvement of our crowd screenings, we will add the feature to ask the users to read the screenings whenever they are finished with their screening experience, and also to enhance some social interaction between the friends. We would like to add a buddy watching, which the users can buy tickets for their friends, so they can watch the screens together and interact with the friends during the screenings. And also the final feature we would like to add is the timed play from Cineplex, which is shown to be loved by most of the participants from the usability test. And after adding all the features, we would like to incorporate the Cineplex branding to our app to make our app to be more formal, and follow up with the usability testing. So that's the end of our presentation, and we want to give our sincerely thank to our professor Alana and our TA Janasa and Anna and Mark from Cineplex who are not here, and also the classmates from Camp D 2002. Without you guys, we can't get to this step, so thank you guys. And that's the end of our presentation, and hope you guys love our design. Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
Do you have this copyrighted?
I think we signed it off. I think we signed it away.
Somebody else has it already.
I know.
Have you looked around at what other streaming technologies are out there that not specifically meant for this, but that will deliver the kind of put-through that you're looking for?
I think the primary competitors in this space are more less movie streaming apps, more kind of traditional chat apps.
Chat apps and online lecture apps. But
Yeah,
there
if
happens
you're-
to be one over in Mars that can do 10,000 at one time. So maybe if you're really serious about this, go over talk to them.
Yeah, I think the primary advantage that we have working with Cineplex is that they have access to the films that is kind of the advantage of the Cineplex store in general, is that they have a wider library.
Yeah, but if you
of
can't
films.
deliver them and can't deliver them on time and fast enough, nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah.
Because your delivery technology is really what you're selling. Whatever else looks good, it doesn't make any difference. If you can't get it there, hit that on the button, it's not going to happen. So unless they plan to show it in the theater and do it, you're...
Devil's advocate, because you're presetting your screening times, you have an opportunity to catch potentially the CDN or something.
Yeah,
So-
if you're going to do it at home for people watching on everything from 4K,
Yeah.
8K coming, and all the way down, you're going to have to divide that out. Plus, unless you're going over the air, cable's not going to deliver it in time. They compress it, so you're not going to get. So there's a whole real technical things that you really needed.
Yeah, I don't think we're entirely knowledgeable on the infrastructure on the Cineplex store end, but whatever.
If they're going to do it, they have the money to go get it.
For sure.
But those, you've got to outline the problems to them, to say, these are the issues.
The issue of
That's
streaming, imagine, to different bandwidths at the same time,
Yeah.
synchronized, will be a very interesting one. Huh? That hasn't happened before because this wasn't.
Thank you.
What you gonna do?
What's the social interaction, like aside, I'm assuming there's IMing basically, but is there a voice, is it by voice?
So early on, we actually considered using voice and video chat. So if you're familiar with an app called House Party, it's like a big group Skype, FaceTime kind of thing, and we wanted to like do a thing where we could set like, ship it with like a stand, so you could set your phone up next to your laptop, so you could like FaceTime with your friends. But when we did our preliminary research, we found that to be like a terrible idea. No one was comfortable with that. In addition to the technical challenge of audio being transmitted across 8, 10, 20 different phones at the same time, that required some serious like noise cancel, like synced noise canceling tech that was way outside of scope.
Less.
Well, okay. Bell 5, when that comes, that will do this. And you'll be able to take from your modem to your phone or any digital device, it will put it out or whatever. But you better hope for net neutrality.
Yeah.
All right, do you have a question?
Oh, I just said net neutrality part of that, our side won, put it that way. They knocked it out, yeah.
That's the opposite. The FCC actually succeeded in their goals. But
Fair or bad news?
Well, yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Great job.
Thank you.
Hi guys, we are the Cineplex group, and we're going to do the second screen experience. I hope our product can significantly improve your watching movie experience at home. And our group name is Next. Our member including Ali, Athea, Boya, Thorin, Kay, and Suri.
so just a quick question, like how many of you have ever been watching a movie and seen an actor or a song that you just couldn't remember or recognize, and you have to like go through this arduous process of searching them to find them? Awesome. So hopefully we'll be able to have a solution for you.
So in coming up with our solution, we went through 4 phases. We went through research, ideation, prototyping, and testing. So in our research phase, we conducted primary research, which was reflected in interviews and surveys. We conducted secondary research as well. We did competitive analyses and literature reviews. So from our interviews, we discovered that most users wanted an automatic access to information, they wanted interactive content information, and they wanted relevant information as well. So from our surveys, we identified that most users were between the ages of 18 to 35, and popular second screen experience behaviors exhibited were interaction seeking and information seeking.
Okay, then let's talk a little bit about the platforms. So in order to start playback of the movie at any device, you have to open the app on that device. And to make the whole second screen experience work, you have to open another device and launch the app. So the system gonna automatically detect you have two active devices under your account, and they're gonna push the supplement information through your second device. Say this is your primary device as your TV, you are watching a movie. All the real-time supplement information gonna push to your phone. And those combinations can be altered, and so any device could be your primary screen or a secondary screen. Then in the beginning of the design, and we developed 6 different versions of the low-fidelity prototype. And total we developed 18 usability tasks. And based on the task result, we find the most popular feature of each prototype. And in the end, we combine all the best features combined into a unified version of the paper prototype. Then we start to work on our high-fidelity prototype. And in the very beginning of the design, we actually designed our very own design guideline. We actually capture every existing product of Cineplex, including their logos, and try to pick all the find all the colors they have. And we pick the color, which you can see the gold and the darker gray. And we want users to feel like this is a Cineplex C product, but we want the product to look good. Despite the color, we also put a rule of the padding, the opacity of each element, the shadows, the design. We set design guideline predetermined. We start to develop our high-fidelity prototype. And we did 13 tests based on the first iteration of the high-fidelity prototype. Majority of the feedback is pretty good. People like it, they think it's cool, it's easy, and all this valuable data help us to do the second iteration of the high-fidelity prototype.
So in creating the prototype, as mentioned before, we had some key features that we really wanted to highlight. The first one being the in-sync information. So the idea is when you're launching the second screen application, you have a live feed of essentially scene-per-scene information. So actors, music, set designers, anything you want to filter, you can throw in there. Along with that, we also have things such as interactive maps, character cards, and all this would be very movie specific. So we use the example of Batman. So in Batman, you would have a map to show where everyone is, and cards to represent who the characters are. The next feature we wanted to look at was just extra content. So right now, it's no secret that things like pirating and just streaming service has really disrupted the movie purchasing, especially digital movie purchasing behaviors and renting as well. So that's something we really wanted to address. So we wanted to leverage the things you used to get with DVDs, like bonus features, bloopers, all the really fun stuff, and we wanted to bring that back and kind of promote that as an idea, like if you buy this product from Cineplex, this is what comes with this purchase. And then finally, we really wanted to kind of push on the idea of the film watching experience. So we wanted to introduce kind of like a new way to reflect on the movie watching. So the idea is that during the movie, you have opportunities to save the favorite scene. So if there's a scene you really like, you can save it for later. That way, after the end of the movie, you have this opportunity to create a montage, which is essentially like a mood board of your favorite moments of this movie that can be shared with friends and family.
Alright. So for the people who raise their hands, I'm really excited for you to see our app. So we'll now start. So this is the Cineplex. I'm going to log in using my Google and the dashboard. So I'm a big Batman fan, so I'm going to watch Batman Begins. And here's more information about it, the cast, kind of information that I'm going to get. More reviews from other users, and I can rent it or buy it, so I'm going to buy it using my credit card, paying, and it's done. Complete. And we're going to watch it. So this is now being played in my phone,
And this is my favorite scene, so I'm going to favorite it for later. And it's going to now cast on my television, which will turn my phone into my remote and second experience screen. This is the interactive map and the character card about Scarecrow and other characters. And more information about the scene by scene, more extras that I will watch later, bloopers, I'll watch that for sure. And here's where my favorite scenes are. And if I want to remember what my information is, I can click that and remember who the cast were or the soundtrack. And here I can, this is the end.
So the movie just ended.
And the movie just ended, and this is what would appear. And here I can create my montage that we talked about, and we created it, which I can share or save on my phone. And that's pretty much it. And I can go back and watch other movies if I wanted to. And
So yeah, that's the Cineplex second screen experience. Yeah.
Hi, great presentation.
Thank you.
I was wondering about the montage feature when you're favoriting things as you watch the movie. Did you test it with users?
We weren't able to test it, but this is something that, based on interviews before our final product was made, was something that a lot of people wanted, and it's something that was also mentioned by Cineplex, that like the social kind of sharing experience.
So I guess what I was trying to get at is, did you make any assumptions about, like, as someone's hitting favorite, do they want what was just preceding that moment? Or is it, what boundaries did you use on the scene for choosing the sort of auto montage?
So our idea in the beginning, in the first iteration, is that if you favorite that thing and you can like watch later, for example, you don't know what the song it is, but you want to concentrate on the primary screen, right? So you don't want to distract a lot, so you just hit that button and watch, review the information later. But then we realized like some people probably want to create a really awesome personal trailer to share with a friend, so that might work. That's why when you create a montage, we ask you to select which scene you actually really want to put into the trailer, because something you may want to add it to just want to check additional information. It's not necessary you really want to like that scene.
So, yeah, and just to clarify, so the actual favoriting of the favorite scenes we did test in the initial prototype. It was the montage thing that was a new feature. Because after review with Cineplex, they really wanted some post-watching experience. They wanted something unique with that. And so the montage is what we came up with as a way to bolster that. And in terms of, I think your question was regarding like what timing, how the timing worked.
Yeah, like what timestamp?
So
go back 5 seconds?
Exactly. So our assumption was that we'd be able to come up with basically a deep learning algorithm or just to have the metadata included in the program that could capture scene by scene. Because there's already technology that does that, so it would just be included in the metadata.
So sort of how the scene was edited? Like a natural beginning and end to that?
Exactly.
scene?
So back to the legal end of this. You're working with Cineplex?
Yeah.
They're willing to let people cut?
That was one of our assumptions.
Yeah, because
that would be, I could use it because I teach with a lot of cinematic stuff, and you got to go through a ton of stuff to get it. So I would buy that just for that feature.
Yeah.
But the possibility of them doing that is negligible.
Yeah.
It's a great feature, but it's not going to work. Are they looking to do it in the theater, like the stuff that they do now?
So this would be for the home theater experience.
So they're not in the home theater business?
They do. They have a Cineplex store that allows you to buy and rent movies.
Yes, you can buy it out, but the people who deliver all of those movies are Bell online. So why am I paying an extra? What advantage am I have there when I can bring it in, and believe me, I can capture right through, or on it, or YouTube, or whatever's else out there. Those are, it's an interesting, where I teach, and somebody did this, they would be sued. So those are,
Yeah, that's definitely
that's a whole
something-
other thing, but when I see this, yes, it's great. If they're gonna do it in theater, it sort of starts to make a different kind of sense. But if they're looking to do it outside, good luck to them, but I don't think it will.
Anyone else? Great, thank you.
Okay, so hello everyone, my name is Leona.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Morgan.
I'm Emily.
I'm Michelle.
So first of all, thank you so much for staying, and hopefully you're wide awake for our presentation right now. How many of you guys are currently watching a TV show, whether it's on TV or whether it's through a streaming service? Yeah, right, everyone, great. So I don't know if you guys are having the same problem that we're having, but currently we were talking about our streaming experiences, and what we're facing is that every time we try to go watch a TV show, we find ourselves super distracted by the phone that is in our hands. So we're either checking emails, we are responding to emails, responding to text messages, looking at social media, online banking. We're doing so many things on our phones. So then even when we try to not use our phones and put it away, we are watching our shows, but then we have so many things on our mind. So above, right here on the screen, this is an accurate representation of all the things that are going on in my head every time I start watching a TV show. And so this actually makes me want to use my phone even more, because now I want to try to answer all these questions. Does everyone, do you guys kind of understand what I'm going through? Yeah, so then we figured, why don't we try to create an application that uses all of this information and amalgamates it into one, and so that we can really try to enhance your experience and enhance your streaming experience by pivoting on all this information and putting it in one place. So it's not really distracting us, but really enhancing our view. And so with that, we came up with this application called Sidekick for Netflix.
So to begin our project, we started off with some user research because we wanted to see what information was already out there. So to start off with our secondary research, we looked at a bunch of consumer reports, we looked at academic papers, and some newspaper articles. So basically what we found is what we already suspected, that people under the age of 35 are overwhelmingly multitasking while they're watching TV. And these are some of the activities they commonly engage in. They're looking up extra information about their shows, sometimes they're shopping online, and sometimes they're just scrolling through social media, either just mindlessly scrolling, or sometimes they're looking to see what other people are saying about the shows that they're watching. So from there, we designed our primary research to learn more about our target users. So we also wanted to know specifically what people's viewing habits were when they were watching streaming services. So we said, when you're watching Netflix, how often are you using your phone? So overwhelmingly, a lot of our users are using their phone while they're watching Netflix. But to our surprise, we found that not a lot of them like to actively engage in social media. They might like to scroll through something, but for the most part, it seems to be a more solitary experience for them. So after conducting this research, we switched our focus from the social aspect, and we decided to focus more on bringing together a bunch of different content for our users.
Alright, so based on our research, we developed the persona of Jordan, who is meant to represent our target demographic and the scenarios they might face. So Jordan comes home from a long day of classes and puts on an episode of Stranger Things. But while she's watching, she begins scrolling through Instagram and decides to look at some of the actors. This causes her to miss an important plot point, so she pauses the show and goes on to Wikipedia to find out more information. She then resumes viewing, but quickly becomes distracted by a nice sweater that one of the characters is wearing. So she goes online and tries to find a similar item of clothing. Wouldn't it be great if Jordan could find all the information about her favorite show in one place without getting distracted? This is where Sidekick comes in. So second screen apps have been tried before, but they have largely focused on niche markets, specific shows, and have heavily relied on social interaction, which is not what users actually want. So when we were designing Sidekick, we decided to focus on creating an information-rich experience that focused on light interaction to re-engage viewers with the shows they were watching, rather than distracting them.
So before we go into the demo, I just want to emphasize that the Sidekick application essentially, if you're watching a TV show on a primary screen, what the Sidekick application does is it pushes content about that specific episode that you're watching to your phone. So this will become more clear when I go through the demo, so we can start it. So this is you logging into the sidekick application. So you're going to click on the app. And as soon as you open it, you're going to go through an onboarding process that essentially links your Sidekick account to your Netflix account. So as soon as you log in, Sidekick prompts you to sign in with your Netflix account. So as soon as you sign in to the account, it essentially is synced up directly to your Netflix account. So all the TV shows that you're watching on Netflix will show up here. So I'm going to select a user. And I'm going to select a few shows just for the purposes of this demo. Like you can see, it says recently viewed, so you were probably just viewing that on Netflix. And then I'm going to go into the content and select the content that I'm interested in watching or knowing more about. And so for the purpose of the demo, we've selected all of them. And so we arrive at this home page. And at the very top navigation, there's a paper airplane and a home button. I'm going to click into the paper airplane just to show you that you can interact with other users that also have this application. And so now if I click on a show, so I'm going to click on Stranger Things, I see two different icons. I'm going to click into the play icon, which gives you a list of episodes in which you can watch an episode directly on the application. If I go to the bottom bar right there, I can use this navigation to either pause, forward, rewind, or play. I can then switch devices and connect to a different device if I want to, a device that's nearby that's also connected to Netflix. I can then use Sidekick as a remote for that device. So if I click into the news content, the newspaper right there, this is the content feed that I was explaining before. So if you look to the very top of the demo, you can see different content that just keeps popping up. So if I'm watching an episode, say episode 4 of Stranger Things, the content that is being displayed is for episode 4. So there's different types of content. You can see a timestamp at the bottom right of each piece of content that tells you exactly where you are in the show and where that content is actually coming from. So right now I'm going to click into a piece of content just to show you how it looks. So Shop the Look features an actress's look, and you can essentially buy something that looks like the outfit that she's wearing, pants, a skirt, the sweater that we're looking at. So another thing that we really want to highlight is that we've tried to implement a lot of notifications or a lot of customization into this application. So if I go into notifications right now, I can actually turn on and off content that I wish to see, or turn off push notifications if I don't actually want to get this content pushed to my phone. I can also change the spoiler settings on the app, so if I'm not at a point in the show that everybody else is at, I can turn off the spoiler settings or turn on the spoiler settings so that I don't get notified about content that I don't really want to watch or view right now.
Awesome. So we followed an iterative design process while working on a Sidekick. So we all started with separate paper prototypes, and then we came together to create a medium fidelity version. There are a couple different stumbling blocks in our design process. So for instance, this screen was one of them. While we were testing with users initially, we wanted to have live content in one area with the feed, as well as users being able to control the content they were watching, the remote capabilities, which was supposed to be represented with the TV. Unfortunately, while we were testing, users really didn't understand what the TV was for. They kept kind of going there to try to watch videos about the show. So we ended up changing it to a play button, and then also adding an episode pop-up. Another area that gave us a little bit of trouble was the bottom bar. We ended up making it a little bit bigger in our final design, as well as creating the device pop-up. Without the actual remote capabilities functioning in our design, users were considerably confused during the usability testing session about what this button actually did. Okay, and then the main screen that gave us the most trouble was our content screen. So initially we wanted to have the live content in a separate area as the feed, because the live content is the content that's being pushed to you as you are watching a show. So our initial idea was to have a toggle at the top, as you can see. One of the toggles would be now playing, and the other would be the feed content. While we were testing with the users, we found that they were either didn't notice the buttons at the top at all, or they were just confused about the difference between the two options. So we went to a radical change, as you see in the demo. So we have all the content together now, and as you stream a video or a show or an episode, the live content now populates the top of your screen.
Okay, so for some of the positive results we received during usability testing, So users really liked the aesthetic similarity to Netflix, which was a choice that we made to draw on that existing mental model. We got overwhelmingly positive responses to Shop the Look, the feature, which we were sort of surprised about because we thought users might be resistant to a more commercialized feature. And then in general, users really liked the information organization such that all of the information is in the same place. One user actually said, I mostly like how the information is all in one space rather than dispersed. You don't have to go looking for it, it's right there for you. Rather than having to go out and find all this information on your own, Sidekick sends it to you. The idea behind the app is that by sending all this information to you, you can enhance your viewing experience, engage more the content of the show on your primary screen, and also enjoy your streaming experience more. Any questions and feedback would be super appreciated.
Just a question, how many screens do each of you have? How many devices?
Oh, devices.
I have 2.
I have 2 as well.
Yeah.
My household has a lot more than 2.
Yeah, and I'm in that boat. So I find this a really interesting possibility, and far more different than you're probably thinking of this. I mean, you're just doing Netflix, but as a research tool, bringing information in is a fascinating possibility where you can pull everything together and give one lookup table of all kinds of things and either save that. I mean, I must have 10,000 things saved in my little eyeglasses on Google. But it's the same kind of thing. Also, this is a medium that you could advertise that Netflix doesn't advertise. In Netflix, you see the movie, right? You don't get ads with it. You could then, the funding source for this is other third-party advertising.
Yeah, we find it can be a really good business model just in terms of just like selling things when users
just-
don't really realize that they're being
I
directly
think there
like
are real
sold to.
possibilities.
Yeah.
And apart from the shopping, there's also the whole aspect of, there's a lot of new user data being generated from this, so Netflix could learn more about, for example, there's the option to have polls in the app as well that happen throughout an episode, so it's just another source of information for the people creating the content.
So how much of it is curated versus user-generated content?
So we tried for the social media feeds, we tried to use pulled content as much as possible. And then also for things like Shop the Look, we learned early on in our process that they're developing with machine learning technologies to identify items of clothing and stuff like that, rather than having to like manually create all of that content yourself. So ideally, most of it is automatically generated. Some of it, obviously not.
We actually like started off with thinking that our app was going to be more socially oriented, and so we thought that a lot more content on it would be user generated, and we thought we were pivoting on that idea. And then as we kept talking about the application and we were thinking about where the content is coming from and like how you trust content, we figured that it would be more smart for us to just like get someone else to curate the content and put it on the app rather than generate any user type of content. But we did discuss that a lot of people would actually like to create polls themselves and like see what other people are talking about in that sense. So maybe that's like a thing for the future.
So to extend on the ideas presented by the previous 2 question askers, if possible, then the business model could be very vertically integrated, so that by design, certain content like I like that dress, for example, is there by design, so that you partner with, the show producers actually partner with H&M or whatever, like Chevrolet or whatever. I like that car, so that the actual show is. It's like
It's already
So there's no advertising per se. The whole thing is sort of like an advertising.
It's like sort of scary, but
very vertically integrated.
Yeah, we thought about that a lot, like things like working with costume designers and stuff like that in order to generate the clothing content in particular, but also like set designers, like what kind of furniture are they putting on their set?
bombarded with advertisements there if you want to find it. And if
Right.
something like
It's there
this,
by design.
Yes.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, when an episode of Star Wars came out, you can expect the plushie toys of the Ewoks. But that was just a very organic kind of thing. Okay, what I'm talking about is what you're thinking about is more by design. Little things like this Sony tag down at the bottom, sort of think it's just there by accident. It's not.
Yeah.
It's never there by accident.
Yeah. Did you have a question as well?
I was just going to say what I like about the model of integrating a commercial aspect to it so that there's like a business model behind it. It's not just informative for free, because then how is it a business? What I liked about it is that it's user-centered. It's like it's win-win, right? It's not just, hey, I'm somebody with a product and I want to sell it to people and I want to advertise to whoever will listen. It's more like, if you like something, it's a service of where to find it.
Yeah.
Exactly,
So it's definitely more of a user-centric model, which I think people would be more inclined to go along with if it's win-win.
Yeah, thank you. That's what we're hoping.
You're a grad student?
Yeah.
So why don't you apply for a POP grant?
Honestly, we have so many thoughts about like further going about
Which
this.
is a proof of purpose grant. You can get initially $10,000. Almost simple. Just speak to your
Innovation
people at
people.
school who do
Yeah.
that. There are people here.
Yeah.
And just put this concept forward. There's certain rules, but because this is advertising and there is a commercial end to this, I'm sure you'll get the grant without any problems, and then just develop the concept more. The problem is copywriting and getting it out there, because it is relatively simple. You're going against monsters like Netflix and that. So the idea is to put the concept together and see if you can sell it to them.
Yeah.
I'd invest in you guys. Round four.
Thank you.
Very Dragon's Den.
Any other questions? Yeah, please.
Yeah. Well, actually, first of all, great slides, by the way. The visual segue, they are fantastic. A question about choosing shows at the beginning to be sidekicks. I'm just curious about that, because I assume that if you're watching a show, open sidekick app, it just like, it just worked. What is that selection process about? You selected like a bunch of your favorites.
Was it as part of the demo that you're referring to?
Yeah.
Oh, so essentially, if you log into your Netflix account right now, it just shows you what you've recently watched. And so we literally mimicked that exact model for this demo. So if you log into a Sidekick account, it would show you exactly what you were recently watching on Netflix. And then you could select shows from there, but it also gives you options to, like suggestions based on your user activity and based on your behavior. It shows you other shows that are kind of similar to that, what's popular on Netflix, and that's really how a user would choose which shows they want to watch or receive more content.
Okay, but I mean, you're only watching one show at a moment.
Yeah.
Depends on any screen
Okay, well, on per screen.
Yeah, so the feed that we showed you is per show. So it's not like every show is on one feed. You have to select into a show to get all the content.
I still don't understand why you're selecting 3 different shows.
Oh, so the reason, like, are you talking about during the initial setup process?
Yeah.
So the reason we did that is just based on our own experience and talking with some of our users, we found that people watch so many shows that they might not want to have all of this integrated with the app. They might just want to use it for a couple of their favorite shows.
Got it.
Because especially if you just start watching something that you don't like, you don't really want to see that come up in this app because you're not.
If you're just trialing the show, basically.
Awesome.